So last week I did a segment that I received a ton of positive feedback about, and it generated some really good discussions about deprogramming cultists and those who have been brainwashed by disinformation. As a reminder, the YouTube video was called "I Confronted an Anti-Vaxxer. It Didn't Go Well. And in that video, I chronicled an email exchange I had with a COVID anti-vaccine person who emailed me saying that I was being paid to promote vaccines, which aren't really vaccines and which don't work anyway and which are killing people. And when I asked her for the sources for that information, she ran away and provided nothing. Well, this segment, aside from being instructive in itself, also generated a ton of responses from even more anti-vaccine people, all coming out of the woodwork to attack me, all equally uninformed, all sending me even more outrageous emails. It was like cascading anti-vax inbox explosions. So because people found last week's clip so interesting, I chose just one. I mean, I can't respond to all these. I chose one of the subsequent emails to respond to. And I'll show you how that one went. And it's basically just as bad. All right. The follow-up, I got an email from a woman named Brittany who wrote to me responding to my email exchange from last week with Amy saying, quote, "How can you promote these unsafe vaccines? I'm sure you heard of the nurse who fainted after getting her COVID vaccine, and then they tried to replace her after she died because of it." Brittany sends me a link to a website called lisahumanelife.wordpress.com, which is some kind of poorly formatted blog, which claims that the nurse who fainted after getting the vaccine is actually dead and has been replaced by a lookalike, but a poor enough lookalike that I guess Brittany can tell it's not actually the same person. Now, initially, I ignored this because it's so dumb and it's been so widely debunked. We know that the nurse didn't die. We know there's lots of people who just faint around needles. We don't know if this nurse fainted as a rare reaction to being vaccinated specifically by this vaccine, or she just faints around needles, a sort of vasovagal incident. But most importantly, she didn't die. But I didn't respond because it seemed like a waste of time. But Brittany was not to be ignored. Brittany was persistent, and she followed up, emailing me again saying, "I sent you proof about the vaccines causing deaths. I haven't heard back. So I assume either you haven't had time to look at it, or just like everyone else, you don't want the truth. Fraud is a serious thing, and that's what all this is. So I don't understand why things are being covered up. It will all come out in court, so I don't know what else to say. Just that at least if you took time to read this, thanks for your time." So now I did write back. Since Brittany really seems to want an answer, I wrote back to Brittany and I said, "That nurse didn't die. None of your links were reputable. Here is a reputable source, Reuters." And I link Brittany to a Reuters article which reports, including naming the nurse and citing actual statements from people on the record, the nurse who fainted after COVID-19 vaccine did not die. Catholic Health Initiative's Memorial Hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where nurse manager Tiffany Dover works, confirmed to Reuters that she is well. To which our friend Brittany wrote, remember, Brittany first was saying, the fact that you're not responding, it's because clearly what I sent you is true, the nurse died. I write Brittany back and explain to her what actually is going on. And Brittany writes back and without addressing the facts says simply, quote, "I don't understand how you could cover for these people. You know the proof is solid, but that's on you. Justice will come." Now, as we discussed last week, every time I show something like this or some of the hate mail that I get, people write in and say, "David, these aren't people who are just wrong. These people are clearly suffering from mental illness, often paranoid delusions." Now, I certainly can't diagnose that. I don't know how my audience can, but the mental illness component in general is something that can't be ignored. But either way, taking this at face value, someone who believes lisahumanelife.wordpress.com without any citations over a specific report from Reuters with source links and naming individuals that are giving statements. That's not someone I think I can get back to reality, mental illness or not. That's just a pragmatic reality. And the problem ultimately is we need to get these folks vaccinated in order to build herd immunity. So it's not merely an academic or theoretical thing to figure out, like, how can we reach them? If they all don't, depending on how many of them they are, and based on the herd immunity numbers we're looking at right now, requirements that we're looking at now, at least some of these folks are going to have to get vaccinated for us to really achieve herd immunity. That's my only concern. Saying this person is just nuts, or this is a bad person, or this is a liar, or this is someone who's mentally ill. It's a curious question, but less relevant to actually figuring out how to deal with this. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. I'm interested in hearing from you if you think you have one. One of our sponsors is Magic Spoon, the breakfast cereal that tastes just like the sugary, tasty, delicious cereals we loved as kids, but without the sugar and without the carbs. Magic Spoon is sweet and delicious with 0 grams of sugar, 13 grams of protein, and only 4 net carbs, making it perfect for a low carb or keto diet. This month, Magic Spoon is releasing 2 amazing new flavors. We're talking about cookies and cream and maple waffle, only available for a limited time. Of course, you can still get cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, and cinnamon. Build your own variety pack. Our team has tried every flavor. We keep asking them to send us more. Magic Spoon is as good as it sounds. Magic Spoon ships to the US and Canada, and you'll get $5 off and free shipping when you go to magicspoon.com/Pakman and use the coupon code Pakman. I've put the link underneath this video.